tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, hey guys, my name is Doug Torres. I work at Asurion right now. I'm a quantitative data analyst. My job basically is telling people about the data that we have, why it matters, what it means, and ensuring data accuracy.
So tell me how you got into that type of job.
How I got into it? Okay, so primarily, like the biggest difference in my journey here was graduating from Nashville Software School, NSS. I was part of the first data analytics cohort there, so graduated in 2020. So it was kind of a tough time to find a job, but I essentially landed two like contractual jobs. One was for Lowe's, one was for Cat Financial. So kind of got my foot in the door there with a lot of like Excel and like Salesforce, just a lot of things there. But Healthcare Blue Book as well was my first like major like permanent data analytics job. I worked there for about a year. And then I got hired here at Asurion. So just taking in that like actual real world experience, and then I'm actually applying it here. So yeah, it's exciting.
That's pretty cool. So how did you get, like, what were you doing before NSS, and then like what made you like decide to pursue a career in data analytics?
Good question. So I've always been like the de facto like IT guy for my family, like growing up.
You are under the age of 35, right?
Oh yes.
So that's pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, that's true. But it's always like, hey, Doug, like, how does this? Even the VHS. Like, my mom was always like, doing like that, like late '90s. So it's like, yeah, I was just always been interested in like how things actually work. So it's just me like fiddling in with the first computer that I got at the age of 11. So I don't know. It's always been like kind of driven to consumer tech and things. When I went to Lipscomb is when I actually discovered that I liked like numbers and telling people about like what's happening with their business or what's happening with the situation, whatever the data is saying, right? Not everyone's like data literate, so I find it pretty satisfying to actually be able to go into an Excel spreadsheet or a dashboard or whatever and be like, oh, this is what it means, this is what you could do with it, blah blah blah. So
does it make you feel like a magician?
It's I don't know. I guess an interpreter, I guess you could say. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, like, I guess taking things from out of nowhere is kind of magic, right? So.
When I talk to people about things in spreadsheets, they tend to have this like glossed over look until I get to the things that are important to them, and they're like, "Oh, that's great! I didn't know you could get that from the data and whatnot."
I guess you don't really realize how deep into the weeds you are until like people come to you, like, "Man, I don't know how you did that," and you're just like, "Oh, yeah, it's it's just this, yeah."
It's a good kind of credibility in the workplace, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because when you're doing it, you're like, man, I have no idea what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of like, kind of imposter syndrome kind of things going on. But, and then you get this kind of feelings. They're like, man, thank you so much. Like, I'm not a data person, so I have no idea what I'm doing. So it's just kind of those conversations. So,
yeah, I do know what you mean. Like, being around so many data-centric folks has got me feeling the imposter syndrome pretty hard.
Yes.
But I do feel like in the same way that you use data to find insights, like I can do that, just not at the scale of some folks here. But the importance of, like you said earlier, it's like understanding the data. It seems to be very important. So do you let me ask you this: what are you most excited about hearing? What are you most excited about hearing at the Analytics Summit?
Well, of course, this year is mostly generative AI stuff and what businesses are doing with that. So, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm just excited to see like how people are overcoming the challenges that come with these models, right? So, like the hallucination thing, like how do you keep the model from going off the rails when you're presenting it to your customer or something like that?
So very detail-oriented type information then.
Yeah, basically. I mean, because you can tell the customer to go into ChatGPT and ask a question, but how do you know that it's answering in the way that you would like them to answer, in a way that you would like them to represent your business, blah blah. So far, I haven't seen anywhere where it's just like straight on customer facing.
Yeah.
But like for example at Asurion, like there's a lot of things that we're like they're using Gen AI to like assist in their experts that interact with their customers. So essentially making them better, faster, more efficient.
Yeah.
So and I think that approach is going to be the most like widely used across like all industries. So I think we're going to come to a point where like regardless of the data literacy of the person, they're going to be assisted by some kind of like AI to do their job better.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Like a receptionist to an executive, I think like all sorts of job positions are going to be impacted by this. So it's a much better like outcome too, because like I think the most major fear of people is like, oh my god, my job's gonna be replaced anytime soon.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's gonna happen. Might be too optimistic, but so far this is kind of like how I see things.
Yeah, we like to adhere to the it's not AI that's going to take your job. It's somebody using AI that's going to take your job. That's way more likely than the other way around. But the so like I Asurion, like that's insurance on mobility, technology, all this other kind of stuff. Like I work at a mobile help desk, and we're already looking at Gen AI from the perspective of like how can it help our agents give correct answers. And so we're very knowledge-based driven. So all of our information is laid out and formatted in certain ways to where if we plug the bot into it, it just works. And it's one of the most amazing things that I've seen so far. Like and it's just going to keep on changing and keep on changing. So what, if anything, do you think is going to be the coolest innovation over the next year or so? Because it's kind of hard to see 5 years out, but like, how about a year? Can you tell us something?
Because if you asked me this like a year ago, like, I mean, you gotta remind yourself, like ChatGPT was released to the public in a year ago, like October, right? October, November or something.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you asked me this like a year ago, like Gen AI wasn't even in the horizon like at all. Right. So hard to say. But if I had to say something, I would guess like just the commercial aspect of it, like actually having very specific use cases models that use large language models. For like whether if you have like a small business that does finance, or you have like a tire shop or something, or you're like a big organization, like you're gonna have like products coming from like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, and it's kind of like integrating this for whatever your business use case is. So just kind of to being able to like kind of just leverage that will be the most important impactful thing, like as for like you as a professional.
Yeah.
So it's like equivalent to when like I don't know, like when Power BI came out or something.
Yeah.
Something that changed like the way that you do your job and the way that you would your like, employers would expect you to know for a particular job.
So you're saying that the workforce is irrevocably changed with Gen AI?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that at all. And the thing you were just talking about with that vertical specific expertise, I think that's what everybody's kind of looking that direction to see like where it's going to go, and they think that's the next thing to kind of come into focus is like how can Gen AI be as close to a doctor as possible, or something along those lines. So for anybody out there listening that either is looking for a job in data or potentially thinking about a job in data, what's one recommendation you would give them?
Oh man, I would say before you drop money into anything, it's like really research like the day in the life of a data analyst or a business analyst or a data engineer, blah blah blah. Just kind of like really research and see like what exactly something with that title does. Because you don't want to go in like full in 2 feet into the ground, into something just for you to realize like, man, this is really not my thing. And going from that, once you realize, something that you're interested in, like just look up like the tools that they use and see if you can even learn it on your own. Because SQL, you can learn it on YouTube. At least the basics. At least just like getting data out of a database, playing with it, massaging it in the way you want it to look like. Those stuff, there's like plenty of tutorials that you can watch. So yeah, just kind of research and have fun and see what's out there.
So do a little bit of self-learning to find out if it's something you want or you want to do, but then dig deeper before you spend money. But then ultimately, like if you decide that spending money is something that you want to do, like you went to the boot camp or like a boot camp style thing in the NSS. So like you've got that traditional school routes. Is there any importance or preference over one or with one route or the other?
Well, the reason why I like to plug in like Nashville Software School is because they do give you like real world projects. So what that means is that you're using data that hasn't been curated for students. You're using, like for example, in my case, Metro Nashville came to us with a problem with, back in the summer of 2019, all these like Uber, Lyft, Lime, they just like dumped a bunch of scooters over the summer, basically overnight, what it seemed like overnight.
Yeah.
So the issue was, how do we allocate all these scooters in a way that they're not like crowding up downtown, but also are able to use this for people that, to use it across the city, not just downtown.
Oh, that's cool.
So the ask was, what's the ideal scooter density for Nashville? That's just like a super open-ended question.
Did you find a number?
We tried to answer the question by just like, okay, what's the closest like bus stop near there? Just like a little like last mile kind of thing, basically. I don't think we found like a concrete answer, but the whole point was like, what did you learn when we were trying to use this data to answer the problem?
Yeah.
So we used Python to do it, and that was like, for all of us, including me, that was the first time that I ever used Python for like big data analysis. So I learned a lot just by like trying to massage the data in a way that like allowed me to answer the question.
And let me ask you this: are you an experiential learner?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I really
same.
have to use something. Yeah, I can't just like watch someone else do it and like get it. So
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people would learn much better by doing that. So I feel like that's just like a great way to learn anyway. So and it says really does expose you to those kind of projects, and then you're able to put them on your resume, and and then like, you're able to talk about them in job interviews. And
So did that help you get your first job with the Healthcare Blue Book?
that helped me. Well, Healthcare Blue Book was my third employer after NSS, but it definitely helped me talk about like it's just kind of like building like a data mindset, right? It's just like how I would approach a problem, how to use data and things like that. So that really helped me get into Lowe's, and then Cat Financial, just professionally talking about data.
Yeah.
So
Got to get that experience.
yeah, you do.
Okay.
Yeah, get some projects in your resume and just be able to talk about them.
Cool.
So yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Doug. If you're in any kind of breakout sessions and you learn something spectacular, come back by and let us know, okay?
Will do.
All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Man.